Okay, welcome everybody. This is episode 2 of the SharePoint Dev Weekly. Isn't that what we agreed to call this, right?
You're counting, yes. Well,
Yes.
So far it is. And I guess that maybe at some point we will announce a contest for a catchy name.
Yeah, that might be the case, actually. SharePoint Dev Weekly. Well, that's not too bad, actually. But
It doesn't really
anyway.
roll off the tongue. Like, SharePoint Dev Weekly. Well, it's not a bad.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so this time we're recording this actually on Wednesday because Waldek has some personal and family things happening on Thursday and Friday. So we are doing this day early, and that is a brilliant excuse. Family always first, I would say, like we say in BMP.
BMP second.
Health, family, always first.
BMP.
And then the BMP stuff, absolutely. Cool. So this time, I think we have actually quite a few things to actually walk through quickly on the screen. But Waldek, what have you been doing on this week, just out of curiosity?
Yes, actually, I've done a few things, and one is really cool. So one thing that I've done is I ran analysis of the starter kit that we've built. So I work at Rancor. And at Rancor, we build solutions that analyze the developer's code and tell you whether it's correct or not, whether there are any issues that you need to fix. And out of curiosity, I ran the starter kit that we've built at PMP through that. And the good news is I haven't found anything out of the ordinary. So we've done a pretty good job. On the other hand, I found one of the things, like, for example, the one thing that we currently do not do in starter kit is we do not validate users' inputs in property pane. So when we ask you to input a URL or a string, we don't validate that input directly. So that's one of the things that came out. And I think that might be just, it's like, it's not a must-have, but it's definitely helped you improving the UX part of the whole experience, right? So that's definitely something that I think we should take into account and adjust sometime when the rush is off and we have some time available. But other than that, I was surprised to see, well, not really, because it was all of us who built that it was pretty good. I mean, there wasn't anything bad, right, in it. So that was cool. And then another thing that I've been working on, and that's really cool. So we are closing into the point where Ilya, Stefan, Sergey, and myself want to decide, okay, so are we going to pull through with web components for SPFX, or actually web components for SP Dev, if you like, or not? Yeah. Because we've done some research, we've done some tests, and now we checked a few things. There's like one or two things more that we want to check, but once that's done, we will be really close to the point, like, okay, so we're going to do it or not. Because there's obviously commitment and time and project to run the spin. But so far from what we've seen, it would be really, really cool. Because if you think about it, imagine that you will be able to use Fabric-styled components no matter where you use jQuery or Vue or React or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right, so that would be really...
So correct me if I'm wrong, the Edge still is not supporting web components, so that is one downside of the...
Natively it does not, but there are polyfills available. So
okay.
You would be able still to...
Exactly.
And
can you explain what is a polyfill? Because not necessarily...
So a polyfill, imagine that in browser you have a feature that it supports, and like in Edge doesn't support a few things. So a polyfill is basically a piece of code that mimics the ability that, for example, you might have available already in Chrome, but you don't have available in Edge. So it fills the gap. It polyfills the gap that you have in the native.
So that was a audio hiccup. That's why.
It happens.
It happens. We'll improve. So not an audio. It was a video hiccup, actually.
Yeah.
Whatever. On my side, I'm prepping SharePoint Framework 1.6 release. So I've been updating some docs. Some actually updates are already out on the basic tutorials. Doing some video recordings later this week as well. Also ordering a PMP stack. Super important thing.
I noticed. Like your whole room is now PMP.
Yeah. We forgot. We remember to do that. So last time we had an empty screen, which was stupid. But yeah, so this is just me testing different vendors for stacks. So I just wanted to test out. And obviously, all of these has the super important sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring
inside of them, which is, by the way, a trademark of Red Cross of America. So we'll see how long we can actually keep on using that. So But anyway, so I think more importantly, SharePoint Framework 1.6 coming in matter of days. So it is coming soon.
So we're recording that on Wednesday, August 22nd. In a matter of days.
In a matter of days. Yes, correct.
Perfect.
Correct. Even after when this goes live, it's in a matter of days. So,
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so let's actually jump on a few items. Thank you for those who actually pinged us on social media and let us know cool stuff which we wanted to actually go through. And I just want to double check that I'm sharing the right screen. Yes, I am. So let me actually, can you see what I'm sharing?
Yes,
Waldek?
I can. And
excellent.
It's directly going into the really nice topic. And I think that we've been talking about it for a really long time. So imagine you have your intranet, you go to the root site like contoso.sharepoint.com, and you want that first page to be the home, the welcome page of your whole intranet. And as such, you want to control how it looks like, how it behaves, what's on it. And for a long time, that root site was kind of off limits. So
I wouldn't call it off limits. So I wouldn't call it an off limit. So this is Mark D. Anderson blog post around on that exactly the same topic, where it says, hey, the root side of the tenant is actually classic theme side. Can I create a communication side on top of that, or can I use the modern experiences on top of that? For the first question, answer is no, do not delete your existing root site collection.
There we go, off limits.
Off limits. Well, true. But you should never ever delete that site collection. There are, let's say, implications of doing so. The communication sites, so you can't actually create a communication site on that site collection, or you will end up having problems sooner or later. Now, using modern experiences in that site collection is actually possible because any classic SharePoint site can use modern experiences. It's just a matter of creating a modern page and then adding modern web parts and experiences on it. Except that there's a small downside, like Mark is actually explaining in this blog post, which is that the layout supported in the classic collaboration sites is not the same layout as would be supported in communication sites. So you're kind of partly stuck on the let's say collaboration page style in the root of your tenant, and that's not really optimal. Now, obviously, we in Microsoft, we are working on a long-term story around the root site collections, which we're not going to actually mention in this weekly thing, or otherwise, Chair for other people will be slightly angry for me. But we are aware of these challenges. We're looking into helping people to consume the root site collection more efficiently in the future. There's certain announcements probably coming already in Ignite, so within a matter of, what is, 1 month? Weeks, yes, not months, weeks. And please keep on asking those questions in Ignite and in the community channels as well. Now, Mark is pointing out what's possible, and also there's John Sanders from our team as an example from engineering participated on discussion. Good blog post, good discussion. Absolutely exactly the feedback what we need, so that we will keep on evolving the capabilities what's available in SharePoint Online.
Cool.
But change is coming, or we understand the challenge and we're looking into addressing or enabling things. Now, the
working on it should not take long.
Working on it, exactly. Yes.
Second one?
Now, second one was more around the development topics, and this is good and relevant discussion. This is actually, let me actually zoom in here, debugging deployed solutions. Well, the title of this issue isn't really what the discussion discussion is.
Right, because the discussion was more about, so you optimize your code for production. You bundle it, you optimize it, you minimize it, you uglify it. But then what you end up with is that minified code. And when you have an exception and you log that, the call stack refers to all the things like you can see on the screen, like e.r, object.net, like things you don't understand.
Yep.
So how do you strike the balance between optimizing your code for production and yet being able to log any issues that you might have in production?
And I'm going to repeat what I just said. It has to super clarify this. So whenever we optimize the code for production, the long class names and everything else will be minimized. So they will be then rechanged to be really at A. And the challenge is really that at A doesn't do anything. What is an A? Because, we optimize the code. So we minimize the code. That's really the key challenge.
and then even if you would scroll to the right, it will show you the location, but the location you will get will be in bundles. So you will go to line 1, column 95,765. That's useless.
Yes.
So in the issue, we talk about different options that you have. Now, the interesting part is, and I haven't shared it yet because I'm not yet done with a research that I'm doing, is imagine that there was a way for you to actually have both, or the best of both worlds. So to have your code optimized and yet be able to log complete locations of your original code. So I'm doing some work around that, and I hope that I will have more to share soon. So stay tuned for updates on that.
Yep. Yeah. But it is a classic challenge. So when you run your code in a production mode, in production, you want to have understandable exceptions. So not because exceptions are worthless if they don't actually give you any additional value. So
exactly.
Why would you log something if you're not interested on the information what you're getting logged? So absolutely makes sense. Now, a few other topics which we wanted to kind of pinpoint quickly. We don't want to keep talking all of the items too long because we want to keep this as relatively short in general. But we wanted to pinpoint a few things. So David Warner, just kind of a pinpoint David's site here, warner.digital. David actually is amazingly fast of producing a screenshot summaries of our community calls. So typically within 2 minutes after the community call, there's already a screenshot summary available. So he's obviously taking screenshots during the call and prepping the blog post and then releasing it. But these are actually super valuable. So the recordings of our community calls are always out within 24 hours, but the David's summary is always out within 5 minutes. No pressure, David. But they are super fast typically. Also, David is active on creating video blogs. So there's good stuff around the column formatting, getting started and all of that. So really great videos explaining how things are working. So good job from David on that. Now, the one thing what I want also was announced within the last week or so, actually this is on Sunday because Tommy works on weekends as well. So Tommy is one of the architects behind the Valo intranet. But one thing what he has done is an open source Chrome SP editor, and the version 4.2.0 is now out. And this one has a search query tool inside of it. And this is an extension for Chrome. So you're able to.
What can you do with it?
You're able to, for this particular new capability, you're able to create search queries against your tenant, so you can easily do that. But in general, the Chrome SP editor gives you capabilities of modifying CSS files, JavaScript files directly within your tenant from the browser, or running PnP.js commands, or modifying extensions which are activated on a site. So it's kind of, how would I put it?
It's like developer power tool.
It's a developer power tool, yes, absolutely. And it's using the recommended patterns to do the things. So Tommy is a really great guy of implementing things. One note for Tommy, you probably always want to have a link to the actual extension in your tweets, and that helps for people to find it. But Chrome SP Editor, you can absolutely find that from the Chrome Gallery. Now, a few other things, downloading SharePoint list item as a PDF using Microsoft Flow. And these are really cool capabilities. So there's Microsoft Flow, awesome platform and awesome capability of doing workflows and processes and automations. And then it's the question of having let's say a button or activation from SharePoint side to then start the flow to do the actual business logic. And that's really one way of implementing on one kind of a common scenario where people implement application customizers or list view customizers for SharePoint Framework, and then they click a button or they expose a button and something happens on the Microsoft Flow side. And this article actually shows how to download a list item as a PDF version. So it uses the Flow to convert an HTML to a PDF file. Cool technology demo as well.
And actually, the cool thing is that you can not only, because if you think about it, you can not only download the item, but you can also add a logo or even style some of the output.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not really the raw output that you would get, but there is some ability for you to control what's actually being shown, and then as a result also include it in PDF.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a good reminder that the flow actually could be your business logic. The SharePoint framework can be your front end, like it is. It is a UI layer, and then you activate stuff, which actually activates stuff in flow, and then the flow is doing something. It could actually then call Azure, and then magical things happen, and unicorns and whatever, pixie dust and everything else, and everything is awesome. So anyway, so the story of, so in summary, Microsoft Flow equals pixie dust, right? Yes.
On that bombshell, next one.
On that bombshell, the next one. Receiving comment notification by email in modern SharePoint site. Exactly the same story, actually. So using the flow, Microsoft Flow, to then have a button using Application Customizer in a SharePoint page, and then click that one. Activation of the flow happens, and in this case, then sending actually a flow. The flow is sending an email related on a comment on a modern page. Technically, the business scenario in here, I wouldn't really consider that as a super awesome thing, because at least I'm getting way too many emails, so I don't want to have any emails. But the scenario is interesting. The architecture, once again, is interesting. We're using SharePoint Framework Application Customizer. That is the action which people can actually activate, and then that activates a flow, and something magical happens. And unicorns, woohoo!
And I guess that also brings us to an interesting approach that we see, almost a pattern, like where you draw the line. What do you put in SPFX things actually in code that you build versus what do you put in flow? In flow that end users or power users who are not developers can control and adjust as they please, and don't need to go through a approval of admin, centralized deployment, and all of that.
Which is a good and a bad thing, right? Because
correct, there are two sides to it, right?
Exactly. There's always two sides of the coin. So, or what is the role of SharePoint Framework versus Microsoft Flow versus Azure Functions? So obviously Azure Functions requires that you write actual code or PowerShell. Well, and then Microsoft Flow is an end user or power user driven thing, and then the Azure SharePoint Framework is the activator of things. So,
correct.
But we see, like Waldek said, more and more we see architectures and designs which are based on this kind of a model, which, by the way, makes awesome a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, two more things quickly. Demystifying mystery behind of the UI language in SharePoint. Before the recording, I just said, Waldek, that, well, funny enough, I knew this, but I don't think that many other people actually knew this.
Oh, of course you know everything.
Because the SharePoint UI language model is, how would I put it? It's slightly complex. And now if you are living in the US or a UK and completely US-based company, you might not never thought about it, but actually languages is a pretty big thing in a global scale.
In Europe.
That's a really wrong way of putting this. Obviously, if you have a global customer has multiple places in multiple countries, you need to consider multiple languages. And this is a really great short clarification from Ilya, and he even drew a nice picture explaining the process. So what's actually coming from SharePoint, what needs to be activated, if something is activated, what does it mean from a browser or user profile or a site perspective. So really, really, really great stuff, and explaining the flow, how the SharePoint UI actually behaves and how it flips the language based on the end user and site settings and browser settings, to be precise. And the one thing, final thing, just quickly pinpoint, Mikael Svensson, one of the BMP core team members, has written a nice adventure about optimizing a SharePoint Framework runtime bundle sizes. And quickly explaining what it is, bundle size is basically, it means on the size of the JavaScript file, which is getting generated whenever we actually ship our SharePoint Framework code. And obviously we want to have the bundle size as small as possible, because that impacts the download size of the page. So smaller is good. On the other hand, there are reasons why every now and then the bundle size has to be big, or you need to bundle stuff inside of the JavaScript file to avoid any version conflicts in the future. So it is not a black and white, let's say, recommendation or story, but Mikael has a great blog post here, how to actually modify or optimize the SharePoint Framework runtime bundles.
Yeah, and actually in this, he had an interesting angle where he doesn't need all of the code on runtime. He needs only a little portion of that on runtime, and then a bigger chunk only in edit mode. Because in edit mode, he wants to offer that really rich, compelling experience, but on runtime, it just needs to show the things that you put in edit mode, right? Yep. So in the edit mode, you can choose what you want to load, but on runtime, you already know that, and the code is there, so you don't need all of the overhead that you need in
editing experience. Yes.
Exactly. So here he goes through the challenges that are in SPFX today, and what are the workarounds that he applied today to solve it, and then hopefully that will become easier eventually. Because I think the need is there, and the more compelling solutions we're going to build, the bigger the need for that will be, right? Because you don't want to always load everything if only sometimes you need one piece, right?
Correct. Absolutely. Makes sense. Cool. That's all on the let's say the picks for this week side, and please let us know if you're interested on getting if you're writing cool stuff which you want to get mentioned on this weekly summaries. Please ping us on Twitter. SB Dev Weekly is the tag. I will put it in on the blog post, which will go live on the SharePoint Dev blog. Which reminded me of something which we actually haven't talked about that much, mentioned at some point. So for those people who are watching these videos, who might be an MVP or might want to be an MVP in the future, we're looking into also exposing the SharePoint Dev blog in the future for externals. So we'll start by an MVP. There's reasons behind of this because there's an NDA and everything else behind of the thing. But we are looking into letting basically MVPs to blog through the official SharePoint Dev blog after our review, obviously, which is an interesting opportunity in the future.
So if somebody was an MVP, how would they approach? How do they reach out? Do they reach out to you, dear Vesa? I have a blog post
this was early promotion on something that is coming out. Fair question. So we will write a blog post whenever this model will go live. We'll explain who do I need to reach. Don't send me an email. That doesn't scale. Trust me, it doesn't scale at all. We'll figure it out what is the right model for doing that. But we want to basically make sure that people get more exposure, and whenever it's in the official SharePoint Dev blog, we'll push it out using our SharePoint and Office Dev and every other channel. So it will give more exposure for everybody through that. And really the power of the SharePoint is the SharePoint community, especially in dev side, because there isn't, we don't scale in our side. So the only way we scale is through the MVPs and through the community. And that's really the key power, what we're going to do in the future as well. So that was a small teaser on that. But thank you for watching on this one. No idea how long we talked, but we'll be in touch.
Here next week.
Here until next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.